What's up, everyone? It's NASCAR Sunday. We're in Kansas for the Advent Health 400, breaking it down for DraftKings purposes. And of course, it is Cinco de Mayo. And who better to break it down for us on Cinco de Mayo than Taco? See how
What's
I tied
up?
that in? I worked on that opening. What's up, Taco?
What's good? What's happening?
Is today your actual birthday?
Here's the thing. I'm not of Latin descent necessarily, but I do appreciate a good old Daniel Suarez Day.
Your people eat tacos, and that's all that matters.
Yes.
Now, they might be wrapped in different materials. I don't know.
They may be fish tacos. You know?
Yes, but they do eat tacos, so it's all good. And you were just telling me that Kansas is your favorite NASCAR track of the season. What is special about NASCAR? Tell me about it. I'm excited.
Well, they got rid of my Atlanta, which used to be my favorite track, but Kansas has just been the best spectator track since COVID, really. It's been great race after great race after great race here. Tons of lead changes. This race last year set the record for most lead changes in a 400 lap race or 400 mile race. Should be awesome. Where it's long are the days of seeing someone just kind of check out for 200 laps. It's going to be intense, fun action, and it's still going to be who we expect to be up there leading and battling at the end. They'll be battling and leading at the end. We probably shouldn't see just like one team run away with it. It's going to be the expensive guys. It's going to be the same as last week to an extent.
Well, wait, hold up. Last week was kind of a unique track, right?
Same package though, but last week ultimately came down to Hamlin and Larson. Most of the intermediate tracks tend to come down to Hamlin and Larson.
I am looking at the odds, and man, it does look like it's going to – the one that shocked me, it does look like it's – the odds makers agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's Hamlin Larson. But
there's one surprising one.
Reddick, pretty good here. 23XI, pretty good here.
Wait, let me grasp this. I'm new to NASCAR. I've only been doing this since DraftKings launched it back in 2016. But Reddick is now one of the better drivers. Like, this guy, is he –
intermediate?
He's an elite driver now?
Oh, yeah. Especially the intermediate tracks. Like, we haven't talked about him as much when we were going through that stretch of like short and flat tracks and stuff, but he's very, very good at intermediate tracks and road courses. And 23XI has kind of cooked here. Like, they have not existed for very long, but so far we've seen like Kurt Busch win this thing. We've seen Bubba win this thing. Most recently, we saw Tyler Reddick win. They just got the sauce here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the research station here, and let's make that a little bit bigger. But Reddick, I guess, was the fastest. Okay.
This year, if you just lump 23XI with JGR, it's such a two-man show. It's just Hendrick versus JGR. That's what it comes down to.
And 23XI.
Yep. All
right. Well, that'll be an interesting race. So let's get back into the main meat of this discussion, which is this is an intermediate track, the standard cookie cutter NASCAR track, right? So
yep, and we have multiple grooves to work with, baby. So if you're fast, there's nowhere for people to block, really. If you're fast, you're probably getting around people. And we've seen a huge advantage to the pole sitter here. After that, it's kind of fair game.
I saw even in the notes for trucks, not Xfinity. That was a big part of it. It's like, it doesn't matter where they start. The fast car has no blocks to get to the front. So my first thought right off the bat was kind of a pole sitter, not the best situation here. But then I jump over to the research station, and now I'm looking at the DK average by start, and we do see that the pole sitter has done well here.
Yeah. Now historically, usually the fastest car on the track tends to get the pole position pretty easily, and it's very easy for them to go out and lead stage one. So it kind of explains a lot of this. But this year is kind of weird. Qualifying really seemed to be about weather and just when you went out on the track. Things are very close. If we're looking at practice speeds, of course, long run speed is going to matter a lot here. There's some tire fall off. it will come down to some of that good old-fashioned tire management, sort of similar to what we saw like a Dover. So it's got to be that same group of drivers coming up towards the front. Like we see the Hamlins, the Truexes of the world run well here.
Just looking again at our averages by 5 starting positions, and I hope you guys can see this who are watching. But if you can't, again, we have a pattern that is most to least once again, meaning that the exact opposite of, let's say, a super speedway where we might see least to most starting early and moving to the back. We're back in the pattern where the drivers up top tend to actually score a little bit more, and then the scrubs in the back do not tend to do very well at all. Taco, is it normal for drivers to fall off the lead lap in a 1.5 mile track? Like how many drivers will finish on the lead lap, and how much carnage can we expect on a track like this?
So we have a prop for this week. It's 24.5 cars on the lead lap, which is pretty standard, I'd say, with 8.5 cautions. So take out the 2 stage breaks, at 6.5 cautions. We're going to see kind of a quantity of cautions, but they're usually not that severe, as cars do tend to get spread out a little bit. Of course, there could always be a restart wreck or whatever. That does happen. But for the most part, these wrecks tend to be on the smaller side, although there are a few more of them than you may get on your average intermediate track, because usually those are capped at like 6.5, 7.5 wrecks. 8.5 is a little bit much, but I wouldn't expect too much carnage from normal. It's about mid-pack when you compare all the tracks together.
Okay, and how many Dominator points are we looking at here? It's the Advent Health 400. Is that 400 miles? Does that, or 400 laps? Is it how many laps are we getting in
I think for this one it's very important to look back in the historical and kind of go year by year, because if you look at the spring race last year, the domination was so spread.
Okay, hold up. Here we go.
Yeah, so here's the playoff race. You can see.
Yeah,
we had no one over 100 laps technically, but we did have Larson being that primary guy who needed with Hamlin. And after that, it was a humongous drop off.
Reddick got in there for some lead laps, and Chase Elliott as well.
These constant lead changes. We didn't see as many lead changes in this race, but you can still see the effects. Like we had Bell in the pole again there. He got all of 15 laps before he was moved out. If you go to the spring race, though, is very well spread out.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, you barely got a Dominator here.
Yeah.
Three.
Oh, I mean, look at the 3 up top. Exactly who you'd expect.
Again, I'm seeing Hamlin and Larson. It's a lot of Hamlin and Larson over here. What about this one? Okay, so this is 2022.
Yep.
Bowman. Bowman. I was thinking about as I was researching this slate is a really interesting.
I think me and Brady are on the same page. As we kind of adore Bowman here.
Oh, okay, good. So he popped for me a little bit, and here's Cinco de Mayo himself, Daniel Suarez, showing up in the mix there. So and then of course 2022 first race, the Bushes. There's
I think Kurt went back to back here, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, Hamlin and Larson have shown up in the top.
They're inevitable.
I mean, yeah. All right, that's really interesting. So that does present a really interesting.
Kurt did go.
Is there anything in practice that we care about? Is it important to?
Yeah, we care about long run speed. We care about 10, 15, 20 laps here, but really just the fall off into these later laps.
It looks like it went as expected, Taco. Hamlin 2, Reddick 1. Larson no numbers for some reason on the long, but really fast.
So you can see Group B was a little bit faster than A overall, but you had Byron and Hamlin absolutely stick out. We know Hamlin's going to be fast. He's been winning these things left and right. Byron, of course, qualified almost dead last, so that kind of flips the slate on its head a little bit here. Reddick and Larson, they could have just as well been the fastest cars, because like you look at Las Vegas, those were the 2 fastest cars by far. Go over to the correlation tab, and what track pops out significantly is one of the highest correlations of all tracks to each other, Las Vegas and Kansas, 87%. I think there's only one 2-track correlation that's bigger than that, and that's Homestead and Las Vegas.
Las Vegas and Homestead.
Yeah, so if you go,
there it is, all the way at the bottom. Yeah.
Well, just go to the Kansas column. You can see I've got it sorted from highest to lowest there, but obviously, like a Daytona, a Bristol Dirt, that's not going to correlate for shit. But
my brain won't allow me to see
it.
No,
top to bottom.
Again, my mind will not allow me to see it. I'm just telling you that right now.
Observe the O column. Observe the O column.
Oh, no.
That's what we're looking at here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. My brain wouldn't let me see it.
Las Vegas and this place have a huge correlation. Las Vegas is one of the intermediate tracks that we have gone to. So we will be looking to that race quite a bit.
So that what happened in Las Vegas this past season? Let's go to the front and let's get a look at that on the main page here.
And you can see Darlington correlates really well too. So next week at Darlington, we'll be looking back to this race quite a good amount.
I like it. All right. So what did Vegas do? In Vegas, we had Kyle Larson win.
It was Larson and Reddick. Just run the outside, just shitting on everyone. And Bell snuck in there too, for sure.
Bell.
Looking at last year's.
Bell hung around. Reddick winds up in 8th, but actually average running position is probably more important than this final.
Yeah, that was the playoff race of last year.
Oh, this one is one I'm looking at.
Here. Yeah, that's this season.
Okay,
and yeah, it was just Larson and Reddick just running away with it. If you go to the Dominator point percentage tab, actually, that'd be a pretty good way to show this, because it's kind of what we're mainly focusing on here. So you can see Larson destroyed. Like he was untouchable.
What I'm really curious about is what about like kind of the shitters and how they did, to see how we're going to make this all work. So which of the because I think we're pretty clear on what's going on up top. Larson and Reddick and Hamlin are all really good here. Fine.
And surprisingly, we saw Kyle Busch do a good amount there, even though he didn't finish well at Las Vegas. He had like the 3rd most Dominator points, and we saw him actually run pretty well at Dover last week, continually running in the top 5. So not someone that's been in play all year. Seems like Kyle Busch is somewhat decent play. RCR are really strong at this track. Him and Dylan seem to be playable for the first time all year.
Kyle Busch was personally insulted that DraftKings reduced his salary to $8,900.
For real, he's like 8,000. Me in the 8,000s.
What? You put me down there with
lit a fire under his ass.
Yeah, he's not gonna be happy. Below Bubba Wallace. Oh my gosh, he can't be happy. Under Ty Gibbs, the kid. That like Kyle Busch calls Ty Gibbs son.
Like the Penske guys, we understand why they're down low. They probably agree with their price.
I mean, we're going to have big decisions to make here with a Willie Byron starting 36th overall, by the way. You can't ignore this.
Yep. The question is, you'd think that Byron would be higher owned, but with all these like big time lap leaders up there, it's going to be hard for Byron to be like a 60% plus owned like we'd see in the Truck Series. You have to have some Hamlin and Larson.
I mean,
even Reddick and Truex, very, very important to have in your rotation. The hard part, of course, is affording these guys.
Everybody loves the shitter rule, Taco. It's like become a thing at this point. You're going to have to write out the shitter rule for all the tracks.
For anyone under 4x value, there you
go. So basically, we do have an interesting setup on this track. You've got a supreme stud starting last, who is a lock button to move up at least to 10th. I mean, I'm not going to say
he's like the most consistent finisher there is to him, and Hamlin.
Yeah.
Just are supreme at finish, especially Byron. If you just look at last year's like runs. So like, he was almost never outside the top 7, and it's kind of true with him here.
It's going to be a question of whether you're going 3 stud, including Byron, 2 stud with Byron and 1 other, or try to get 2 dominators in there with Larson, Hamlin / Reddick. I don't know that you can get 3 of these guys. Once again,
I'm going to say that last week, and what happened?
I did, and we got 3 in there.
I think it's going to be possible. I think this week there's even a construction I find myself on a lot with the two super punt and then 4 studs.
Well, the super punt zone is going to be really interesting, like I said, because that's how you make it all work. So
yeah, you can see the value just after Cinco de Mayo, boy, it really drops off like crazy.
Let's look
at 6K and 7K range. Yeah, just kind of or the 5 and 6K range,
It's
just kind of empty. There's a bit of a drought. It's one of those really tight ship kind of weeks.
I really like Bowman where he starts in his price, but is Gregson now like a stud? What is the story with Gregson?
I know, right? It's been wild. Him just hopping in Almirola's car and just being a beast like this. So the Dover finish, him and Hemrick finished a little better than they ought to have, just because they got really lucky with the pit strategy. But even still, it was a very impressive run. We're seeing Gregson's price sneak up there, and even like his odds too, because he kind of deserves some respect.
That's what stood out for me.
But starting third, it's like oof.
Gregson is getting. Let me point it out for people. I'm not sure if you guys can see this who are watching the video. So when I say is Gregson a stud now, his win odds, okay, are the same as Bowman, pretty much the same as Logano, and pretty much the same as Blaney. So it's like, wait a minute.
Those are champions right there.
And by the way, and they're superior to Keselowski. So I'm like, is this guy considered now part of the elite sort of second tier along with the Blaneys and the Loganos and the Bowmans of the world? I mean,
we've only seen that this track type, so maybe it is this track type sort of thing, which is weird because he's in the Ford camp, and you can see the Fords are severely discounted this week because they have not been very fast. But Gregson has been in tune with this package so far, from what we can see.
It's fascinating. I don't know. I think we don't have to make a decision on it for this track.
Week. Nah.
Yeah, luckily. But I mean, just something mental. I think it's for me just a mental note that
when he qualifies low again, I think we're going to be all over it.
Yeah, I think it's just that, like I said, it's a mental note that this guy the perception might not be exactly what the reality is right now for Gregson. He might be kind of elevating himself. Kind of, it's like, remember when Reddick was 8K or 7,800 still, and we're like, dude, this guy's on the rise, and you got a bunch of weeks to just kind of load up on him before the salaries caught up with kind of what was going on there. So
it's for like Ty Gibbs earlier this season.
Yeah. Who else of the here in the cheap zone? Obviously, we got Suarez, 34% projection, starting 27th on Cinco de Mayo.
Guys are like expensive. I'm starting to think that some guys like Blaney, hopefully Bowman, maybe not Bowman, Keselowski, even these guys, they seem like real obvious place differential plays. I think people are likely to just go down to Suarez or maybe even like punt. Because how are you affording these guys?
Well, do these guys give us the ability to not load up on Byron because we can get our play stiff a little bit cheaper, not quite as good, but kind of okay.
Basically, you can grab two of these guys if you just stick to two studs up top.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you get the third stud going, then now we have to go down to kind of the shitter zone, which it does not look as promising.
The question of the slate is, are these guys going to outvalue the guys down low? Last week, we took the gamble that the mid-range guys would not outvalue the plays down low, and it worked out perfectly. The guys all the way at the very bottom ended up being optimal. There aren't as many laps in this race, only 267 compared to 400 at Dover last week. So, with prices being somewhat the same, there's a bit more of an argument to be made for the mid-pack compared to last week, because these guys down here, these are not anywhere as good a plays as what we had last week.
I'm looking at the bottom group here.
Yeah. I'm just kind of got a few punts I'm gonna YOLO with.
Were there any practice times of the bottom tier group that made you raise your eyebrow and say, that's interesting?
Just Hocevar, and we've seen the speed out of Hocevar, so it's not that shocking. We saw him run top 10 at Texas.
He's starting.
He's inspired, just be improved overall.
Yeah, he never gives us a good starting point, though, does he?
Yeah, but you're not going to get super surprising runs out of these guys. Maybe Haley when he was actually in the Spire equipment or the colleague equipment, but this week it kind of is. The longer the practice runs go, the more it's who you expect it to be. There are just less surprises overall. Really, you consider Gregson to be like the one kind of surprise, and at this point, is he even a surprise? McDowell, of course, trimmed out, didn't run very many practice laps, and overqualified. We're starting to see that every week. Same old him and Cindric, like just avoid them forever. You'll be. There's
a lot of unfriend yous over here that I like. I love an unfriend you. I am not seeing this scenario where, I mean, you'll take me through it. Kill it.
None of these plays just stand out as being super good, but you will have to play some of these guys. So
I see you've got Hemrick and Colo projected as sort of the two best sub 6K drivers here.
And personally, I'm probably just probably taking a gamble on some Justin Haley, running a lot of Hemrick Haley and just punting really hard.
That's fair. All right, let's get into the direct route. Unless we have any more research station things to really look over here.
I mean, we pretty much know who's going to be fast for the most part, and there aren't going to be too many surprises, even with like pit strategy here. So, I mean, we kind of know what to expect. The problem, of course, is how are we going to get there, and how are we going to attack ownership wise?
How am I feeling about Jimmy, man, at 19th?
The easiest unfriend of my life.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, I don't know. These numbers look really bad. Like he was the slowest car by far.
I mean, he couldn't have been in a better spot than last week at Dover. If he is failing at Dover to even be fast lap to lap, it's a Jover at the Dover.
Sorry, and I don't like this at all. I don't like whatever's going on with this vehicle. That's super slow. Like he literally last in all of the. That's not a good scene. And 300 to 1. What I'm looking at,
he's not even cheap.
Just
should
like
be cheap by now with all these terrible finishes.
A thing that I'm looking at, guys, for those at home, right, is I'm looking at these win odds, right, and I'm trying to find where there's some movement or discrepancy where you can maybe gain a little bit of an edge somewhere. And there isn't a whole lot down here to look at. I mean, again, you could say, oh, Herbst and Kraus, yeah, let's get the fuck off of those guys. Like, literally, they're terrible. But beyond that, you get, like, little teeny bumps for Colo and Zane Smith. So maybe Zane Smith becomes a little more interesting.
They're asking about Austin Hill, I guess, starting 34th, which probably lap traffic. He's in that third RCR car. And we didn't get to see anything of him at Texas because he kind of immediately wrecked. So we don't know a whole lot about that car, but I'm still probably leaning towards not being a very good play.
All right. Dooley's got a great question, and this really comes back to game theory. So Taco is when Taco tells you core cash, effectively, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, I'm trying to say chalk. That's what I'm trying to say.
So chalky.
No, there's good chalk this week, though. That's the thing. Week to week, I do like to point out the chalk. Oftentimes they'll be like, oh, we're here. We're not playing the chalk. That's silly. Or we're like a Richmond or something. You just want to play the chalks. It's very good. Sometimes it's player to player. So, like, if we have one super amazing stud starting from the rear and it's like a risky guy, like a Chastain or something, it's probably more of a fade than this week. I would say William Byron is great chalk. But if you want to fade him just off of principle, I completely understand. Probably the way to go. I think Byron is just terrific chalk, though, because he had the fastest car in practice.
The scary thing about Byron is it's not like he can't be leading laps later on in this race. Like,
no, he will be back in the top 10 pretty quickly at this track.
Like, he has a chance to lead laps, which that's a scary fade. We had a Hamlin race a few weeks back where he started in this zone and then was leading laps later.
Yeah, I mean, we just had it yesterday. We had Nick Sanchez start from the rear, and he led a bunch of laps. Like, because if you're fast, you're going to be up front.
Because it was the day before.
You don't really get stuck too far back here, especially with the 8.5 caution props. It should not be much of a problem for him to get back to the top 5.
All right, guys, before we get into this breakdown, I want to mention that we are doing a free week of the props membership promotion at DFS Army. If you're not a member of our props subscription, that's where we cover things like Prize Picks and Underdog and Sleeper and all the pick'em games. We use incredible projection models, plus a team that has been crushing it, giving out full tickets. You don't even have to do anything. Just follow along with these guys. Will Lynn and Sniper literally dropping tickets in the Discord throughout Will Lynn is a beast. He's up all night long. If you're up at 2 a.m., Will Lynn's dropping Korean baseball tickets, and they are tracked and crushing it. I'm going to show you this because this is a $35 subscription per month. Normally, it's free for the month. Use promo code free props. on the prop sub on dfsarmy.com, of course. But check this out, Taco. Even you can appreciate this level of consistency. We track everything here. Last 7 days, all the tickets they've dropped, 728. So $1,665 worth of entries. Profit of $728 in the last 7 days. In the last 30 days, this subscription is up $2,000. This assumes a $100 unit size, but all of these bets come in at 0.2. So you're not betting $100 on some crazy parlay. It's usually $20. These are 0.2, 0.1. They tell you exactly how much of your unit size to put on every single ticket. Don't believe me? It's all right here. It's all written out. You can even get links to the tickets. Everything's the losers are here too. We're not hiding anything. This is the greatest sub you can do. If you're signed up at DFS Army, but you're only NASCAR, I advise you to go check this out. Check out the prop sub. If you enjoy the pick, we don't have a tool for DK Pick 6. I don't know that they put out DK Pick 6 props. It's mostly Prize Picks, Sleeper, and Underdog. There are a couple others names out there like Dabble or whatever, but these are the ones that attract Prize Picks, Sleeper, and Underdog. Eventually, we'll get Pick 6 in there. Pick 6 isn't available everywhere, so it's kind of annoying. Actually, it's not available where I am, so I can't even see it to play it. But check this out. It's a free week of the prop sub. How lucky are you that you are watching this breakdown so that you know about it? It's just this week only. We need some blood in the, it's getting to the doldrums of baseball season, NBA coming to an end. They'll crush in NBA playoffs. But are they doing the picks? Yeah. So they're doing the pick 6 as well in there. So there you go. These guys are dropping, though. You can actually translate these tickets over to pick 6 as well. They kind of hold up across all the different sports. But again, 2024 year to date, up $9,000, Taco. Taco, that's like a full year salary for a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
At least a full month's salary for a lot of people. And
over 9,000.
This is all tracked. They drop the full tickets. There's no mystery here. Follow along and, see if it keeps going. Past performance is not indicative of future results, but, I thought I'd mention it. It is pretty sweet what they have going on over there. All right, let's jump over to the Taco cheat sheet, and I am going to read your notes.
Hold up here. Let me address this.
Okay.
So on Byron's lap, Byron pushed it to the limit. He found where the limit was on his lap. Spun out in his qualifying lap, and I kind of like that. Usually we don't see people spin again after seeing them spin in practice. So Byron knows where to push it. It just kind of makes me like him more in a way. He didn't really ruin his car. He's fine.
Okay. I like that. All right. Kansas has been a terrific race to watch since the next gen era with constant lead changes and multiple grooves to navigate traffic. Last year in the spring race, there were 37 lead changes, guys, an all-time record for a 400-mile race. Long run speed is important here with the tire fall off. We pretty much know who's going to be fast here. JGR versus Hendrick, like it's been always. There are a few exceptions like Reddick. You'll have some pit strategy leaders for portions of the race, but for the long run, it's going to be a battle of the 10K plus drivers, most of which come with some baked-in price differential this week or place differential this week. It should be hard to leave too much salary on the table, guys. Do not leave salary. This is not Daytona.
There ain't no value out there.
Spend the monies. Okay. With that being said, let's get into the drivers. And, of course, you kind of spelled it out for us already, and the 4-pack of Hamlin, Larson, Reddick, and Byron seem like the build-arounds for this slate. Any preferences? There's no real differentiation, is there?
Usually, I wouldn't like just the chalk play here, but this is like the perfect storm with it being Byron. Byron is the safest driver in NASCAR. If there's anyone I'd want starting from the back, it would be him because he's just got so much upside. And he was the fastest car in that slower Group B practice. So, I mean, you got to look to him first, and then you really don't want to get swayed off of Hamlin, Truex, Larson. That's like last week, for example. You needed those three. If you didn't have those three, you weren't winning shit. and all of them were like under 30% because all these other guys kind of crept up in the ownership, and we strayed too far from the basics, which we know. We're going into this race. We know damn well we need to pay for Hamlin. We got to pay for Larson, and we can't forget about Truex. So obviously you want as much Reddick as you can get. It's a great track for him, great spot for him. If it comes to Vegas, obviously he was insane at Vegas, the defending race winner here. If there's anyone getting left by the wayside here, sadly, it's probably going to be Truex. It's going to be Bell. It's going to be Elliott. Would love to play some of these guys, but Bell probably not worried about him as much. If it was anyone cooler on the pool, I'd rather have me some of them. But honestly, it's really just going to be the 10 5K and above guys that are just super duper important, which means we got to find some value somewhere.
I mean, you could only play, like I said, I know you're going to tell me you can get 3 of them in a lineup together. Yeah, I'm sure it's possible by the math, but
it's not as important as last week with the 400 laps, though. This baked in play stiff, man. These guys are going to score really well.
I do have a question for you here in terms of a math question. So between Willie Byron and let's say these other 3 guys, so let's just math this out a little bit. How many laps of domination do I need out of Reddick / Hamlin / Larson to beat, let's say, Willie Byron simply finishing 5th?
He'll probably get like 20 plus fast laps along the way. So it's gonna take quite a bit. They're gonna need to lead like 70, 80 laps with fast laps and finish well. A lot of it depends on where they finish too.
Where Byron just kind of needs to run his usual race and finish in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So that would score what? 36 down to 6. Let's give him 30 play stiff points, which is insanity.
Yeah, that's like 75.
Yeah, that is just such a high score that even these other guys with domination, they need to dominate like a lot. All right, so let's math it here.
They need to lead like 100 and finish like 5th to break like the 80.
That's
very Larson here.
Yeah, that's a Larson situation. If he doesn't win the race and he just leads a bunch but finishes in 5th, then a Willie Byron finishing in 6th might outscore him.
This is why Reddick kind of has to be the 4th guy out. I mean, you want to play some of him, but it just doesn't work out because Byron is a much better play. Usually if Reddick is fast, oftentimes it correlates with him being in 2nd place behind Larson. So Larson definitely boxes him out there. And then Hamlin, probably, I mean, yeah, he's the 2nd favorite of this race, of course. You got to figure he's one of the favorites to lead like a huge chunk of laps in like stage 3. He's a huge stage 3 leader. So while I do like the Larson Reddick combo, if you're like not playing Byron or something, if you're playing 3 of these guys, the best format for it has to be Hamlin, Larson, and Byron.
I mean, good luck fitting those 3 together.
Oh, I fit them in a lot already.
Really?
It works just fine for me.
Hold on.
It works great. We did this last week, and
I know. I got to see it with my eyes, Taco. I'm not gonna believe it until I see it. Let's see how
the thing is, you just have to sacrifice a lot of the mid-range place differential plays.
You're playing like 3 5K turds in the same lineup together?
Oh, I'm playing too. I'm playing Haley. It's like Haley and then Hemrick and then whatever. I think you can get up to like a Suarez almost.
Oh, okay.
Not quite, but
yeah, I see it. He didn't quite get to Suarez, but
run a little host or something, you know.
Oh boy.
You don't have many options, of course, when it's these 3 exactly.
Yeah, I'm just saying it don't look that good. Yeah, you can make a lineup like this, but
this is why Hamlin is going to go under owned for like the 4th week in a row. Yeah. I could just see it coming.
I mean, you guys at home, you can see the screen. If you play a 3-pack of guys this expensive, I think it's Larson and Hamlin that just
you're gonna tie is the problem, which sucks.
Yeah, first of all, I can count the number of actual iterations of a lineup that you can do like this, and it's not that high. Especially when you eliminate like the supreme trash bags in the bottom tier of the price zone. So that's a tough one. I think it's a tough one to pull off. I do think it's really interesting.
Really wishing it was like Bell or something. I started 36 and not Byron.
Check this out. This is interesting. When you only play 2 of them, then you can kind of get into some secondary some secondary play stiff guys that are also really good. But maybe not quite like you get your Bows, some Bowman, little Keselowski going, starting 30th.
You love giving me some Bowman.
Yeah, we like Bowman in general. So, math-wise, it's going to be really interesting. And no, do not make a fucking rule to stack all three. I'm telling you, it's hard to play that trio is going to make your lineup suck. It reminds me of in NBA when you try to squeeze one too many expensive guys in there, and then you end up just with the rest of your lineup so shit that everybody realizes, no, I can't play Jokic and Doncic in the same lineup because the rest of it looks like shit. As much as we know those two guys are going to smash. So anyway,
the question kind of becomes: do we play two of like Blaney, Keselowski, Bowman, or do we play like a Byron and then like a Haley? That's what it ultimately comes down to.
Yeah, you get two. But the thing of it is, so my argument here, I'm not going to say it's an argument. I'm just my observation is when you're talking about these guys are in really good spots. So it's not like I have to play some turdly guys. I'm excited to play Suarez starting 27th or Keselowski 30th or Blaney 26th or Bowman 18th. These are good. These guys are going to get some points. They're scoring some points. Suarez 27. So, and dude, if you want to go all in on somebody on Cinco de Mayo, I'm just saying.
The more I look at it, the more I start to think Blaney might be the low-owned option in GPP because I don't think people are going to want to pay for him.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to him in a second. But I wanted to talk a little bit through that math because for my own head too, I need to understand how I'm attacking this this thing. I'm on a run in NASCAR, by the way. Crushed some Xfinity yesterday again. Sorry to all those people who took me on head to head.
The last like 4 weeks have been just incredible.
Yeah, it's really fun. So I want
the good races continue. It's like Darlington next week. Like this is the first like few months of the season. A lot of joke tracks, a lot of lame tracks.
Loving
the stretch of the year that's like the best. All the short tracks, intermediate tracks. It's been good stuff.
No, loving it right now, and it's been a good run. So I want to keep that going here. All right, so we got our secondary dominator group. I would call this. Everybody forgets that Chastain is even driving anymore. What happened to him?
It's just he doesn't really like. Their relationship to Hendrick isn't as good as like 23xi to JGR. So when it becomes JGR versus Hendrick, like we've seen over and over, Trackhouse just not making the cut. A lot of the times their stats are a bit boosted because they had a really, really, really good 2022 season.
Yeah.
When we run the next gen splits, they tend to be a little bit overrated off of that because they've regressed quite a bit since. Kind of just leaving them alone, especially starting second here. It's not a very good spot for them. I guess if you're playing them, do it on FanDuel. But
yeah, I mean, these guys
range here, kind of the only one I'm interested in, really. I mean, I wish I could be interested in Bubba, but I'm already spending in so many places. I literally have to let Bubba chill. Although that is like a good play if that's like a place you want to go. The only one that's interesting me, honestly, is like Kyle Busch in 4 Dominator lineups because he was just really fucking good last week. And in this package, he seems to be considerably better than in the other package, like considerably better.
What about Ty Gibbs? He was really fast in practice, and he's got a JGR vehicle. And
he's right there with like Bubba is where I would like to. I just literally have to sacrifice these guys so I can just like I would just rather have Kyle Larson than Ty Gibbs like every single time because the upside is like it's incomprehensibly better to go with the Larson.
I think what I'm going to say here is the expectation is that Larson will get that early lead and then Hamlin or Byron, one of these guys will catch up, but you never know. This is NASCAR. And sometimes you watch a race and all of a sudden it's Bubba Wallace who's got the fastest car or Ty Gibbs or one of these secondary names just get it. And you're like, wow, I wish I faded some chalk that day. So certainly it's not out of the realm of shit that could happen that one of these guys all of a sudden does really, really well. But they're secondary dominator options. I think you have it marked really well. So Busch stand out. What about Blaney starting 26? Super play stiff guy. Maybe not quite as much as Willie Byron, but
Yeah, the more I think about the slate, the more I realize that Blaney's going to go under-owned for the same reason that Hamlin's going to go under-owned. But really avoiding Fords across the board is not the worst move you can make. They're like plus 600 overall.
Well, you don't need to win here.
They don't even need to do well. This is just like pure leverage, though. If his ownership ends up dropping into like the lower 20s, which is possible. I mean, the only thing against him, of course, his odds dropped from 14-1 to 29-1, which is pretty bad. It wasn't that fast in practice, and he's actually really bad at this track is the thing. He hasn't had a top 5 here in like 8 years. So you're kind of hoping that a 26th to 8th place does something, or he like backs into the lead somehow, or just something different. But for the most part, it's probably just like a cash game play, stiff play.
Pretty gross drop in odds from 13-1 to 29-1, going from Kyle Busch to Ryan Blaney. And yeah, I mean, that's real. And here you have a fade out on Logano, starting 11th, nondescript starting spot.
If you're in this range, I would love to attack some Bowman, because at these tire wear tracks, we've seen him continually run really well, consistently top 10. You're getting that Hendrick exposure for mad cheap. I'm pretty sure that's Brady's like 5-star core play Bowman as well. Or like,
I'm really surprised how high, not low, but high the ownership is. On
he was high owned last week. He's going to be high owned again this week, sadly. Yeah.
All right.
That's until they get the pricing up on him.
I thought it was going to be sneaky. I was like, ooh, that's what again.
I think a lot of people understood that he ended up being really, really good at the Bristol track that comped super well to Dover. Here. I mean, he has a good track history here. Not as good as we saw at like Dover, obviously, but still, like, he's pretty much always running in the top 10. It's kind of up. He's pretty much a 5th to 10th place sort of car, starting in 18th with a little bit of with some fast lap upside. He's been pretty good at getting fast laps here historically. It's not a bad spot. Then after him, of course, the odds start to really drop significantly.
Well, I mean, you've got Keselowski as well, and you know, he's great, and starting 30th. Nice price point. All good on Keselowski. Couple fades, and then our next play stiff guy here, if we want to get to the low 7K range, is Daniel Suarez. Sure, why not? Not normally somebody I like to get super excited about. Is Suarez like decent in?
He might end up being really chalky. Yeah, he might end up being really chalky, not even because the Cinco de Mayo thing, just because like he's just that cheapest good play in this range, which people tend to pile on. Like Keselowski is a much better play. He should be higher owned, but I think honestly, if people are in a pinch and need money, they're gonna look at Keselowski and go, what's the big difference switching him to Suarez? Same with Blaney. That's why I see Blaney actually going lower owned than expected here.
It is true. I mean, what is the difference between Blaney and Keselowski, really?
Yeah,
$1,000 and not much else. So. All right. And then we get to a fade zone. I like a lot of fades, and this track does have a lot of fadeable drivers.
So many guys. A lot of Fords. I mean, Fords have been doing this like continually, where they're only fast and they're trimmed out for qualifying. And so we get all these free fades just to go through. Like Cindric every week. Like, do we ever have to think about Cindric? How many brain cells we spent on Cindric? Like 5 this year combined?
Maybe like starting up front, auto fade.
Yep.
Chase Briscoe starting this close up, and it's not like
a short track. No.
Yeah, short track. No, thank you.
Same with Josh Berry, even.
He's the one guy who he'll sneak up on you and fuck you right in the tuch. Sorry, but he will.
Yeah, Fords are plus 600. There's not a whole lot to think about here.
And then we get to Stenhouse, who had some decent practice times, but man, I don't normally play Stenhouse starting 21st on an intermediate.
I kind of like Stenhouse at specifically this track type, this package. He wrecked out at Dover last week, but like he was running a lot better than it seems. Like he has like top 15 upside here.
I don't know.
A lot more often than you'd expect in the next gen car. He's got like 5 top 10 finishes at intermediate tracks in the next gen car, including one here.
He needs
not
to
a bad spot, honestly. It's just like that's going to be like a pivot leverage play, but we'll see.
Another fade on Austin Dillon, and then we get to
I will say the fade / GPP is slightly in play, and I think think Brady's on him as well this week on the Austin Dillon train because this is like just a really, really, really good track for him. He's like a
if you want to see the Brady
top 15 dude.
If you want to see the Brady notes, you got to sign up at DFS Army. Promo code TACO for the NASCAR subscription gets you 10% off. And if you're watching this, you're not a DFS Army subscriber, of course, just jump on and get the free prop sub as well. Promo code free props. That's a 1 week free trial to check out what's been print and cash for all the subscribers of that. Listen, I don't know what more to say when you have a subscription like that's $30 a month or $35 a month, and you're up $9,000 for the year. This is better than the S&P. It's an investment. People should just take their 401k money and increase that return. Why not? All right. Yeah. So where were we? Yeah. Austin Dillon, Fade, GPP, Killer Priest, starting 32nd.
Yeah, and I kind of like he's okay, but he was stupid slow in practice, like really slow. Did have a decent run at Texas, but this is not a place we've seen him do well. 250 to 1, 24 and a half cars projected on the lead lap. Seemed like he's going to be some lap traffic. I put him and Hill kind of in the same boat where, yeah, you kind of want some place differential, but I think these guys are just going to be a lap because they didn't show actual like speed, and you kind of need speed here. It's the issue I have with these guys. And Priest's kind of expensive. I feel like he should be like 5,800 or something at this track type, at least, because this is not really his track type.
Looking at the win odds, 250 to 1. It's just the price point, right? I can get 250 to 1 out of Austin Hill for a little bit less, right? Or I can get which makes me think, do I have to play Austin Hill? Wait a second, what the hell's happening? But Taco, this is the zone here. You need to give us some clarity.
Yes.
Okay, this is the zone. I need clarity. Who can I play from this area? Why am I playing them? And why is it Daniel Hemrick?
I mean, I'm sure I won't have to sell you on LaJoy, but seeming like Hocevar and Hemrick are the better plays here, and I will be punting some Justin Haley for reasons. But yeah, those are really the standout plays here because I'm not too huge on obviously Jimmy Johnson. Hill and Priest kind of strike me as just lap traffic here. Same with like Herbst and Krause. They're starting way too far back. Granted, Haley is in that boat. Haley's just like the play you make if you say, fuck it, I'm going all the way to the bottom because all these guys kind of project similarly. It's that train of thought, kind of similar to last week in that regard.
You know,
Smith overqualified. But Hemrick, I think Hemrick is going to be somewhat popular. Not just because of what he did last week, but the three intermediate tracks that we've been to so far this season, Dover, Texas, and Las Vegas, he's finished 9th, 20th, and 19th. That 9th last week was probably legitimately about like a 15th, 16th. If you factor out him getting a little bit lucky on the pit strategy there, but still a 33rd to 20th. That is going to make value all day long if he just continues that road he's gone down. And Colleague we've seen do really well here historically. So yeah, a lot of reasons to play Hemrick.
What about Colo? You jumped over Colo as if he's not even like you're quitting Colo right now. What is going on?
Well, yeah, I said that I don't really need to sell you much on LaJoy.
Yeah, that's
tell me him and Hocevar. I kind of like the Spire cars here because you're still getting a bit of a discount on these guys, and they're a bit fast this year. Colo's just been a consistently like 20th place car at these tracks. Was somewhat decent in practice. Like just projects to be a 28th to 21st kind of guy. Gets you about 30 points. You get a couple fast laps in there, which is fine. It's decent for 57. Compared to a lot of the other plays around here, it's not bad at all. But I'd say Hocevar is a little bit more upside in this range. We have seen him run top 15 considerably more than everyone else in this range. And he was top 15 in practice times as well.
Grim is saying there's always a Cowlick car just sneaking in there.
Yep.
Daniel Hemrick this time, guys.
Yeah, like Haley in the colleague car did really well the last 3 races, 21st, 18th, 19th. Always ran really well in this package.
You know which Cali car is probably not going to be the one?
Probably Cross because he's stinky. He's right. He's the only car slower than Jimmy Johnson in the field.
Anytime you see 1,000 to 1 on the odds, that's like a negative sign.
Like that is definitely the lap traffic.
Yeah. You know, like when shitty bang bang over here, Harrison Burton is 500 to 1 and you're doubly as bad as him. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. I don't want any of that. Don't want any of that. Taco, I feel like we broke this race down. Did we miss anything? Any final thoughts?
I guess a winner pick.
Winner pick. Okay. Last week I believe we nailed the winner pick.
Last week my 3 core plays were the 3 plays you absolutely needed. They all scored at like 80 to 90 each. So
yeah.
W week.
Dooley made that money last week. Dooley, did you cash a ticket last week? I don't remember. I think it was Hamlin. I can't remember what happened last week. There's other races happening. UFCs. Win pick for this one, Taco. What do you think?
I mean, I have a very boring.
You're gonna top out with Larson. Don't do it.
I do think it is just Larson winning this. I think he wins incredibly.
Dude, I'm not
sad. All right, if we're tossing out Hamlin and Larson though.
Yeah, because I'm not risking money to make 3.5 to 1 on a NASCAR race. No.
Well, I'm not live betting a NASCAR race on Sunday though. Let's be real. It's like 30% rake you're up against. But if I'm just making a winner pick, that is not Hamlin Larson, which is fair.
Yeah.
Hear me out. William Byron coming from the rear to win.
I think so too.
Quality pick.
Yeah, I like it. I
if
think
there's any place you could do that, it's going to be Kansas.
Here's my math thought for Willie Byron, and I was going to say it too. I don't know why he's popping for me. He's 12 to 1 because he's starting 36. Like he'd probably be 7 to 1 if he was starting in the front.
Yeah.
So I think you're getting a big bonus of the fact that he's starting from the back on that odds table. So just for that reason alone, basically think Byron has about the same chances to win as Larson and Hamlin, but you're getting paid for 3 or 4x as much.
Very well may have the best car, and the best car goes a long way here. It really does.
Okay, so a couple of notes for the optimizer and how to set it up. I don't think that from what we've seen that you want too much of 3 of these studs together. You're not going to get any of it if you don't force it. I will tell you right now, it's not going to put 3 of these guys in the same lineup unless you massively force it to. I kind of agree with that. I don't think we should have 3 of them together, Taco.
Yeah, it was more important last week with the 400 laps. Looking historically, we've seen it's been more of a pay a lot for 2 guys, and then after the top 2 guys, the fantasy scoring range is somewhat similar. Then it makes sense to go to the cheaper dudes, but
yeah, there's a lot of play stiff available at between 8 and 7K, to where I just think you're when it sets up like that, and those guys put up like the 40s that they could get just from finishing in the top 10. Then that third guy that doesn't dominate is just not going to score enough to have you forced not to use any of these guys. And especially, I think the fact that the entire group, really from 6,500, really almost 7K down, I would say, is there's not a single one here that stands out as like somebody who's going to score more than 30 or 35. So I think your best case scenario with these turds is like a 35. Whereas these guys are getting you 45s for a little bit more. So again, I think those numbers will work out to where it's not going to be possible or wise to play all 3 of the super studs, but we'll see. That's why they run the race. The cat does not care if I am podcasting. She believes that she has reign supreme around here, and she's correct about that. All right. She is correct about that. This cat rules like nothing else you've ever seen. Reminder, where were we? That's free week of props membership, promo code free props. If you are a NASCAR subscriber, you don't have access to the props. That is a unique subscription with Willin and Sniper leading the way. Of course, the Proptimizer tool, which is the shit. And you can make your own tickets, or you just follow along with these guys and you win lots and lots of money. At least if you have been doing that so far this year, 2024, you are up $9,163.50. Just this week, you're up $728. Oh, I can't make money in DFS. Yes, you can. Just do this. And then use all that profit, shift it into your DraftKings bankroll, and then we can play some DFS contests. What's up? That's how we do it. All right. Good luck today, everybody. Come back next time. Remember to like and subscribe. Be on the DFS Army YouTube channel. We got stuff coming out all throughout the day, all throughout the week, all throughout the month, and all throughout the year. Best ball season is coming up as well for NFL, and I'll be doing some best ball breakdowns here. We just finished up the NFL draft. I don't know how close you follow NFL, Taco. It's best ball season. Draft hat.
We got the best edge rusher in the league.
There it is.
JJ McCarthy. We're getting active.
Wait, JJ McCarthy. Wait. You're a Vikings fan?
Yes, sir. Skull.
The fuck, you live in Indiana? You're a Vikings fan? What?
Look, Randy Moss is way too cool to not root for when I was a kid. Okay, there's no shot I'm not going. Oh hell yeah, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, give me that.
That's
best choice ever made as a child picking that team.
You know what the worst choice I ever made as a child was?
Picking the Jets.
Yeah, the worst.
Look, we both know something about some inopportune missed kicks from playoff times.
It's just been a nightmare. It's a nightmare fandom. But it did turn me on to fantasy football because I got to watch football. That's how I got into fantasy football. I like Jaden Daniels too. Good stuff. Anyway, all right, let's crush this race. It is 12:30 as we sit here. We got a few hours to make our lineups. Truex, Larson, Byron, all in. See how it turns out. Good luck, everybody. Take care.
Helmets up.